give Sinclair a lot of flack on this channel, but if these two IDs are hanging off a cliff, I feel fully justified in grabbing the horse, tarnishing the rooster's blood, and then frying him up as a meal to the usurper. Consider the rest of this video as my self-defense plea. So, the new Intervalo is only 2 days away, and while I've got my own thoughts on how that's gonna shake out, I can confidently say that with these 2 new entries in the Heishou pack, this is the strongest ID faction in Limbus Company. Like, you could have made that case ever since the Crimson Cyclops made his way to the scene, but the Blood Fiends, W Corp, even the new Walp IDs alone for Charger Sinking, nah, that's not gonna save him. And that's because each of these Heishou IDs were built with synergy in mind. Sure, you could have guessed that a while ago, but it's really getting highlighted by just how different a purpose these 2 units serve to the team as a whole. So TLDR, Sinclair's worth getting because he's an event unit, he's free, and Wei Sang is gonna be way high up on your priority list. But for the sake of saving the best for last, let's start with Sinclair. Now, I ain't gonna sugarcoat it, it's unlikely this ID is gonna replace either Devyat Sinclair or Phil Claire. Very likely he's the first on the list to feed to Hong Lu, and the last on my personal list to field. That may sound bad in a world where the C branch Heishou exists, but honestly, that's fine. This is one of those fast and loose units that get more powerful the closer they are to Kroken. A chicken jockey, Sinclair is a Rupture Burn combo unit that's best defined by starting with his custom signature status, Blood Flame. This makes him apply more R&D potency with his base skills and heals his SP whenever he manages to stagger or kill an enemy. But if you're already at peak performance, he gets offense up and haste instead. This status quickly becomes the centerpiece of his playstyle since the bulk of his base skills get extra effects specifically on heads hit, and you can get it either with his skill 3 by using his counter, or if he has burn. Couple that with his skill 3 and you can really see how he's a high SP, low HP unit. This thing's got 4 coins that become unbreakable when you've already got Blood Flame, and gets additional power and damage based on how low his HP is. He'll throw in some R&B onto the enemy with all but the first coin, but the last one's the mainstay. You'll deal a portion of that coin's damage as gluttony to all the targets. And that's only possible because this unit has unfocused volley. Yeah, remember R-Corp Hong Lu's Mind Whip? They brought it back! And you won't even hit your friends with it this time. For those in need of a reminder, unfocused volley works by making every coin hit a random target among those that are in its attack weight. Now, R-Corp Hongul's Mind Whip has a single attack weight at base, but got up to 2 with enough charge. What's interesting about this is that Cluck Claire here doesn't have any effect that ups his S3 attack weight. So, based on that, and the ID trailer, it's very likely that this move has 3 attack weight by default. Again, unfocused volley means that the only time you're hitting them all is with the effect on the last coin, so be ready for that burn and rupture application to be spread far and wide. The skill also applies burn to Sinclair and the main target if you lose the clash, which of course is ensured with the UB effect, but it also procs his Let's Get Battle Drunk passive. If he's got burn at the end of combat, he'll get Blood Flame and extra wrath and gluttony damage up too. And for good measure, that comes with getting more flat damage the closer he is to death. You start to notice a pattern here? More than a burn or rupture unit, this Omelette Boy's a she unit. As a teammate, his time on this field is meant to be limited. I say that because the support passive ups the amount of burn and rupture potency inflicted by the fastest ally, a solid offensive buff. But unlike other fielded Heishou, he doesn't get more powerful over time. He gets more powerful by playing Blood Fiend and huffing his own skin soup until he runs out. Your best bet using him in a story team is to slot him as a backup and have John Warmonger here summon him with his counter skill. Check this video out if you need context, but the quick and dirty is that Lord Honglu's counter can swap out a Heishou on the field with one from the backline, slap him with 20 SP, and make him use their skill 3 for free! And since he can make each unit do that twice, you can let him go ham as a damage sponge until he's around 30% HP, that's the amount both LCE Faust and Tarnished Blood get their buffs at, send him back to the kitchen, and then bring him back out. Since he gets Blood Flame when returning, he can then use his skill 3 at max power, then be set to use Tarnished Blood the turn afterward, make like a Kanto 4 lesbian, and live on in Kong Lu's hearts and prayers. This boy was born to die, and he'll do a great job of it if you let him. But on the other hand, he's an event ID, so I'm sure a lot of y'all are gonna get him without having a full Heishou kit. And if that happens, he's actually not the worst fella to run with long term. Sure, he inflicts self-burn, but like with Faust, his innate passive won't let him die or stagger from it. And while I'm rarely positive about Rupture IDs being count neutral, he has enough coins that apply burn that he looks reasonably sustainable in that regard. Also, honorable mention for his skill 2 for getting a reuse coin proc on Blood Flame or low HP and a damage buff to boot. And an honorable mention for those pressing the subscribe button, since I'm dipping my toes into being a full-timer and will be making plenty for y'all to see soon. Hell, this ain't even the only video going out this week. Though if you're a patron or member, you'd have access to that by now. Yeah, you get my point. Moving on. In all seriousness, I wouldn't go in expecting his ego to add many great passives either. 9-2 is barely relevant with the Heishou team and isn't really doing much for solos either. And Lifetime Stew, while still funny, is only gonna proc its passive on a Tails hit, which is just not gonna fly with a high SP ID like this. He's a jack of the Rupture and Burn world. Good enough in my eyes, but not great to the point of replacing the mainstays. His bolus affects burn applications more cute than anything. I don't see the Sister Killer being an immolator anytime soon, but I can't lie, I really like the idea of soloing with him. I mean, this ID was made to say the words "chicken's chicken, duh" in a mirror dungeon, right? The count application's gonna look great after that. But if you're still hungry after that breakfast, well then go ahead. Have a horse. Just don't expect him to be easy to chew on. My lady is dead, and everything is worse now. Ye's song plays like the inverse of Sinclair. You'll be letting this guy take a lot of hits, but not to bring him to the boundary of death, he's just really hard to tip over. This fellow works based off of two main statuses, Linebreaker and Strider Woo. Linebreaker's the core of this unit. It can stack up to 5 and is used to apply shield, gain protection after a nasty hit, fuel base skill effects, proc the skill 3-2, and gain final power at max. And he gets it by being faster than the target, double dip and tremor burst with a skill, and when winning clash with Strider Woo. And if you didn't catch that, yes, this is a tremor unit. And yes, he will let Honglu Tremor Burst if they rub boluses together. But being a Tremor unit's only half the story. On using his skill 3s, or his clashable guard, Horse Sang tests gains Strider Woo. That'll give him flat haste and stack-based aggro on the next turn, and make sure any enemy he attacks gets extra tremor potency at the start of the effect chain. It'll also lose a stack at turn end, so be ready to re-up that if you want to keep it live, which you do. Put these together, and we can already see that this ID shares some traits with Diechi's song in that he keeps his defenses up and wants to be attacked. In fact, he even has an innate way to up his defense level with shield. Quick reminder that 3 of those is equal to 1 protection. But then comes the tremor part. Yeezy doesn't have any ego yet that can burst tremor twice. Thankfully though, the kit accounts for that and plenty more. So how about I not give you the runaround and just let the horse go at full speed? Umai Songmei's skill 3-2 is procced by using his skill 3 while also having enough Linebreaker. It gains final power if it's faster than the target, re-ups his Strider Woo, and gets more coin power based on the sum of Tremor and Rupture on the target. Side note, those higher speed and Tremor buffs are all present across the ID, so that's dandy. It's got an unbreakable coin for every hoof, and if you win the clash with higher speed, all 4 of those coins are gonna do extra damage. Oh, and it'll even throw in a concussion, absolutely free. Anyone holding on to this baby gets a multiplier to the amount of Rupture damage and stagger threshold that's raised while it's live. And that's gonna matter real soon, since those 4 coins will apply both potency and count of Yuzi's Tremor. A second concussion, and then burst Tremor twice. These babies aren't relying on the coins staying uncracked either, so that concussion's gonna stick for a turn no matter what. Oh, but he's not done yet. Take a look at that clash win effect, why don't you? Inflict concussion against the main target. I'm not too clear on whether that means triggering Tremor Burst against 3 enemies means you get 3 Linebreaker back. That'll be important since it's consumed to start using the skill 3-2, but even if not, you can still get back up to 3 out of 5 by the end of the skill, so it's not gonna slow you down too much. Plus, it applies a special status called Commanding Cry on the next turn that ups your ally's clash power and defense level, and throws in a personal offense buff with his passive. So to recap, this ID acts as a speedy tank that can make enemies more vulnerable to Rupture and Tremor, draws aggro, and makes your allies better at clashing and taking hits with its power skill. This horse somehow manages to be the glue that holds his team together, and I don't even have to kill him to make that happen. Hell, we're not even done talking about his skills since his base 1 through 3 are noteworthy in their own right. The base skill 3 may not be as flashy as the upgraded version, but does still have traits unique to itself. It gets greater damage based on Yisong's shield and Linebreaker, and can inflict bind on the enemy. While you'll still want to shoot for the skill 3-2 as often as possible, a good chunk of the frontliner Heishou love being faster than their opponent, so he's still playing a support role there. The same can be said for his skill 1, which can inflict bind on Clash Wind before dealing any damage. Again, nothing too sexy, but since half of your generated skills are going to be this one, it's nice to have a consistent backup play. The skill 2 is what makes me the most curious about his role though. It'll inflict concussion action only if the target doesn't have Deathrite. And around now, I'm starting to wonder, is this gonna be a really good status? Hear me out. It only applies under certain conditions for the skills that inflict it, all of which need some level of setup. It also only lasts until the end of the turn unless it's applied with the skill 3 too. And for reference, that's something statuses like Fragile or Paralyzed tend to have. Then there's the way it's phrased where it says to multiply the amount. Looking at the statuses on the Great Limbus library, statuses like Fragile or Damage do not phrase their buffs this way. The only statuses that include the word multiply are buffs and nerfs for multiply coins, which aren't even in the game yet. In other words, we may be talking more than a basic damage buff. The amount raised is rounded down, so it's almost certainly a decimal multiplier instead of a ×2. But if that multiplier is 1.5 times or more, this could be damn good damage support. By the way, how are my bipolar subscribers doing? I know I told you I'd check in about a month ago. Hope your August has been solid. But now, that's enough theory crafting. There's some more we know is a part of this ID. For instance, what's a Wei Sang drop without being Gmail support? The thing about Gmail is that she acts as a slingshot. She's at her best after she's let loose on the field, but needs time to wind up first. Sans Undertale here may have ended her life, but at least his counter allowed her to launch quicker. And that means her main glaring flaw is a reason to stick around. Enter the Wu Branch Adept. If both of these units are on the field, Gmail gets bonus poise when she inflicts Rupture or Count, and extra attack power up for free. Get her juiced with enough poise potency and she gets even more attack power. Then, if you're throwing out the secret Equine Art skill 3 too, you'll have her proc an automatic skill 3 of her own, which can get her to 3 attack weight and as high as a 210% damage multiplier. At this point, getting any Heishou in your kit's a good idea, but holy hell, if you gotta pick just 2 of them, they're a fine duo. Oh, and while I'm at it, I mentioned in the Lord of Hongyan video that you'd let Gmail take slot 8 and have Devyat Sinclair be in the 7th before falling back. Let's just switch those two now since both of these IDs exist. Ye Song gives Gmail a reason to stay on the field longer, and McGriddle Chicken Little here has every reason to be kept on the back burner until he's ready. But as a whole, this is a sturdy-ass ID. He's meant as a frontliner to take hits and aggro while your more offensive Mao and Lord units rush in, acts as a support to keep your allies at higher HP and direct attacks using concussion, and then takes his chance for the skill 3 too once his line breaker's charged up. If we're ranking these IDs, I'd put him 3rd from the top, just below the Shinless Wonder and his Keeper. And then I guess Sinclair can go to the Cluck chair with an iPad while the C units wait for parole. What do y'all think though? There were some strats I didn't feel were worth mentioning, like this one on screen. But if there's anything you wanted to see more about, do not hesitate to let me know in the comments, or to check out when we stream the new Intervalo the minute it comes out. I've got a special challenge for that sucker that may involve embarrassing my ass in front of other PM creators, but that will come in time. For now, let's have the member and patron Q&A. How did you come to pick your name? What does Frejikama mean? Originally, I had this channel under a different name called Checkermark. It was actually a channel that was hosted by me and another friend, but eventually I decided I wanted to get more serious with it, and he just didn't have the time or interest in Project Moon. So I changed things up right before Limbus dropped, and since VTubers tend to have names that are vaguely katakana sounding, I decided I'd keep the name Checkermark in there by rephrasing it as Chakama. As for the Frey part, well, that's just what I go by IRL, so it fits. Though sometimes I think it's funny that I could have also had a channel that was identified with punctuation and symbols like some of my friends do. But I wouldn't have it any other way.